Hi, how are y'all doing? Thank you for joining me here in our luxurious goat pen today. So today I just wanted to give you kind of a rundown of who we are, what our channel is going to be about, and why we're doing what we're doing, why we're doing what we're doing, and what our plans are for the future. Because we would really love for you guys to join us on this journey and learn with us, because we are starting our own homestead. We bought this property about 1 year ago. It's roughly 8.5 acres. Some of it is forested, but it is mostly field. And we started with a blank slate. So the house was built in 1956 by a man named Mr. Bush. He was definitely what I would call an OG homesteader. You know, he has a giant shop. The house is beautiful. You know, it's 1950s, beautiful, with the floors being hardwood. It's got great bones. So we really like the house. It did need a lot of work. There's a good bit of updating that needs to be done, but the main reason Caleb bought this property wasn't the house, as much as we like the house. It does need a lot of work. I mean, it's got the single pane crank windows from 1956 that you crank up, you know. So it's got some issues with the floors that have to be fixed, some issues with the insulation and the air conditioning. So definitely wasn't purchased for the house as much as we like it. It was purchased for the property itself. So our 8.5 acres is really beautiful. So we've got, Mr. Bush was into plants. He had several pecan trees. He had several pear trees. There is a muscadine vine that I will show you all in a little while, that when we trimmed it back in February, it had been there so long, the base of this muscadine vine was this thick. I mean, it was huge. And there are two of those muscadine vines. We managed to get one fully trimmed back. The other one is still pretty wild, which later today I'll be taking Nay and Augustus, whose pen we're residing in right now, our breeding pair. I'm going to stake them out down there and let them kind of graze and trim back some of the weeds for me. Working smarter, not harder. There are 10 to 15 blueberry bushes that yield amazing every year. We've got, along our fence row in the back there, we've got some beautiful, huge blackberry bushes. So we had a nice base that we had to put no effort in to start this homestead. You want to come over, May? I don't know if y'all can see her, but she's right over here off camera. You want to come sit? No? Okay. That's all right. And we put no effort in on that. It was just already established, which is wonderful. There's also a large shop area that we use for storage, and we're gonna do some things with later on. That is pretty evidence of Mr. Bush's frugality, because he was a bit of a lumber hoarder. I mean, stacked to the rafters in the ceiling of the shop is just milled lumber. So we've definitely been putting some of that to use. These panels, I think, came from the previous tenants, not Mr. Bush. I believe they were part of a Mardi Gras float. But they made making this goat pen much simpler. And then there was an already established pole barn. May, hi. There was an already established pole barn that we used as the frame for our goat pen, and we were able to knock this out in one afternoon, and just added our gate and our fencing, and they were ready to go. So we got these goats on Saturday. May escaped Saturday night because, as we were forewarned that goats are little escape artists, we underestimated how good they are at it. So she got out, but luckily the next morning we got up at 7:30, and there was May outside the little chain link fence, because we had them in the backyard at that point, chain link fenced in area, bleeding to get let in with Augustus. So it had a happy ending, thankfully, because we were worried sick we'd lost our nanny. But she is back. That's one of our roosters, as you can hear. He loves to crow. He crows all day, every day. The crowing at sunrise is a myth. He'll crow at you constantly. But the chickens are what we started with. So we started with about somewhere between 12 and 15 hens, or what we thought were hens, but we did the classic mistake of getting the Rhode Island Reds and didn't pay attention to the unsexed part of the sign. So we ended up with 1 Rhode Island Red hen and 4 Rhode Island Red roosters. But that first flock of chickens was decimated. We were definitely learning. We lost most of them to animal predation. And then a couple just wandered off into the woods. We let them out to free graze and were never seen again. So we're guessing those also went to animal predation. So this is our second flock. We have, again, 4 roosters, but that's a different story. So Caleb's sweet, sweet grandma had seen chickens dumped out on the side of the road, and it broke her heart. So she asked us to go see if we could gather them up. So there was Caleb and I at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in 95-degree heat with a fishing cast net trying to wrangle chickens, only to find out that all of the chickens were roosters. And that was probably why a terrible person just decided to dump them on the side of the road, because they ended up with a bunch of roosters and couldn't handle them. So she was really worried about them, and she didn't want them just sitting out in the heat and getting killed. So we told her we'd bring them home. And so now we have 4 roosters and about 7 hens. So the hens are going to be laying age pretty soon, hopefully. Right now we only have 1 hen laying, Sheila, and she is actually the only hen left from our first batch. She's a survivor, to say the least. She has made it through everything. So she's our only laying hen right now, but we're hoping to get some more laying hens actually laying pretty soon. Which right now she really kind of does produce enough for us. We don't eat a whole lot of eggs. With Caleb going to work so early, Monday through Friday, he doesn't really eat breakfast here, so we've been able to make the 1 laying hen work for a while. I haven't had to buy eggs in a while, but it would be nice to have more. I want to start making my own mayo and really utilizing what we're producing right now more effectively. As far as everything else we already have established, the pear trees produced wonderfully this year. We have, I think, 8-gallon Ziploc bags of peeled chopped pears in the freezer ready for me to make preserves, which I have made a couple batches, but I've honestly just been focused on peeling and chopping and getting them preserved, in the freezer, so that I'll be able to focus on the preserves later on, because it is quite a process. Now the rest of the pears we get from this crop, I'm just going to chop them and can them in a light syrup so we can have fresh tasting pears for quite a while. I'm going to go, hi May, I'm going to go and harvest our muscadines here in a little while, and I do plan on making muscadine jelly with that. I don't think there's quite enough to make muscadine wine, which is what I want to do with them eventually. But we are going to trim that back better this year, because muscadines grow on new growth vines, which is something we learned after acquiring our muscadine vines. So the better you trim them in the cooler months, like February or here even up into March, the more muscadines they'll produce, because they'll have more new growth. So I feel like we're really lucky to have the production that we have now, because the main vine that was huge, this sucker was planted in 1950 something, was huge. That one did not produce this year. Now I have read that they have off years, but I haven't done a whole lot of research on it, but I am hoping it was just an off year for that vine, and that next year it'll come back with a bang and we'll get a ton, because I would love to be able to make both muscadine jelly and muscadine wine. That is one of my favorite. I don't drink very often, but I do enjoy the muscadine wine. And eventually, once we get some kids out of May over here, and she's produced this milk, we are going to be, that's the whole reason we got goats, is to get goat's milk so we can have milk, but also make our own butter, our own cheese. And I'm really interested, I know nothing about it, but I'm very interested in learning how to make goat's milk soaps and body products, because I've used those in the past and I love all natural. So now that I've kind of discussed where we're at, I'd like to say where we're going. Within the next few months, our goals are to get rabbits, which I have a little bit of experience with that. I raised rabbits with my dad when I was a kid. We always had quite a few, and we would be raising them for meat for the family, so they would not be pets. These are going to be meat production rabbits, and I'm still debating what breed, because I'm trying to balance the cost of acquiring the rabbits with the amount of meat and their maintenance. So if anyone has any advice on what kind of rabbits you would recommend, like I said, we do live in a very hot zone, so there would need to be a rabbit that is a little bit better at handling the heat. And then next on our list after that is we would love to get some, now we've done our research on this and we're adamant about what type we want. We would really like to acquire some kuni pigs, because we do have a lot. I'll give you a little tour here in just a minute. We do have a lot of Bahia grass acreage. I mean, it's probably, I'm not good at acreage guessing, but I'd say of our property, 3 or 4 acres at least is Bahia, maybe up to 5, is Bahia grass, and they apparently thrive on that. So, and they don't root, so they're not going to damage the property from what we've heard. And they're great meat producers, so that is next on the list after that. And that's kind of all we've planned out, is new raised bed gardens that we're going to put in closer to the house so they're easier for me to maintain, with my ADHD trying to do too many things at once. So we're going to have them very close to the house. And we're going to start small and expand every year instead of trying to start huge, which is I think what our mistake was with the in-ground bed we did this summer. I think it got too much sun, and I think we tried to go too big too quickly, and we should have started smaller in our raised bed. So that's where we're revamping the gardening plan, and we're going to go that direction. We're going to try to get rabbits. And no, May. She's already trying to escape, y'all. As I speak to you, she's trying to get through the fence because I left the bottom unlatched since I was going to be in here. No, ma'am. Oh, don't you sass me. So, rabbits then pigs, and that's where we're at. And like I said, neither one of us have ever homesteaded, so this is definitely a learning process, and I would love to have you guys join us on that, and maybe you can teach us stuff in the comments section, and maybe you learn a little something, or maybe it inspires you that you don't have to have the experience, the knowledge, a huge property, which 8 acres is pretty big. I've seen a lot smaller homesteads, but you can start with just an acre and a wish, and that's what we're doing. So I hope that we have some sort of positive effect, and that maybe we can go on this journey together. So I'm going to cut that off for now, and next video I will do a tour of the property to kind of show you what we're working with, and I hope you like it. And if you would, please like, comment, subscribe, because like I said, we're just trying to grow a community here. Trying to grow a community and grow a homestead at the same time. All right. As always, be kind, everyone.